Wow, it's so exciting to be talking to you. I feel like I've got access to the king here. Or something.
Oh, stop! You're the king. I feel grateful to get to do this, and so soon after our time, it's fun.
Well, I was concerned about like, oh, is it too soon? Am I supposed to integrate to a certain point first before we jump into this kind of stuff? I was thinking like, does it require?
I imagine this can be integration work.
Wait, a little part of me was thinking, I don't want this to be my interrogation call, though.
No, of course not.
Okay.
No. But I do want to let you know, though, I have a 6 o'clock class I have to go to.
Okay, well, I'm sorry it took so much. Well,
no, it's okay.
Get started. So, wow, this was, I have a cold open and stuff I was going to read, and I usually read it before the guest comes on, but I'd like to read it with you here if that's okay.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I have a cold open and an introduction for you, but it's also let me know from my research I did today, extensive research, if it's incorrect or if I have something, sure. I mean, because it did delve into your life as a kid, and it did delve into, which I didn't really know that you had some challenges in your childhood, but when I looked through it, so you didn't grow up in California, did you?
Yeah, I was in Encinitas. Yeah.
Oh, so you actually now live where you grew up?
Where I grew up, exactly.
Okay. So, well, let me quickly do this, and we'll go into some questions, and we'll talk about the weekend, because I think, and I did write, as I write for all my guests, I did write a tribute story for you and poem, but I'm not, hopefully we have time to do them if we have time. And maybe if you got something you'd like to read or share, that'd be great too. I mean, that's what we like. We are a storytelling podcast. So,
oh, cool. Okay.
So here is the cold open, and feel totally free to interrupt and talk and say whatever you feel when you're reading it. I want to tell you something before we even get to today's guest. This past weekend, I went to a conference, a retreat, and honestly, I wasn't sure what I was going into. Somewhere in the middle of it, and I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen. I cried not once, 3 times. That's not... It's a big deal for me. I'm ashamed to say that it's a big deal for me that I cried 3 times, because I wish I could cry more. Not from sadness, from something I can't even describe. But the closest thing I can say is recognition, like something inside me that had been waiting a long time to be seen finally got to exhale. There was this one moment where, I wrote this today when I was kind of spewing my heart out. There was this one moment we were receiving compliments from people around us. And I know that sounds simple, but it wasn't simple at all. It was terrifying. And it was sacred. Because when somebody really sees you, not the version of you that's performing, not the version that's managing how you're perceived, but actually sees you and names what they see out loud, something happens. You get a little glimpse of your own light, which we don't get to see as much as we should, but we should. And that's both the most uncomfortable and the most beautiful thing in the world. Wow. That's what today's guest does. He creates the conditions for exactly that kind of moment. And when I tell you, I walked away from this weekend touched in a way that felt deeply genuine, spiritual, I mean that. I do not use these words lightly. Not as a performative kind, the kind that lands somewhere in you and stays. I knew immediately I had to have him on Spirit Talk Show, not for me, but yes, definitely for me, but for you, the listeners, because you're enough and you deserve to be seen. Wow. Okay. I'm going to try not to... I'm going to try not to cry when I read this. Okay, I just got to do the intro, and then we're going to jump into. And by the way, I'm probably going to leave all this talk here about me telling you the intro and all this. My podcast is very honest, and when we press record, they hear everything that was recorded. Welcome to Spirit Talk Show.
What you just read is so beautiful and has me emotional. I'm almost crying. And so I just want to acknowledge it and thank you. It's so beautifully said and very, very moving. Thank you.
Well, this is you. This is why you're here. And this is why I'm going to release this episode next week, you know. Welcome to Spirit Talk Show, Bedtime Stories of Grown Up. This is Doyle, and tonight's guest is Wil Fisher, life coach, retreat leader, podcast host, applied theater practitioner. That's new, I didn't know that. And founder of the Awakened Hearts and Willful Living. I love the Willful Living part, by the way. That's your name. Will grew up in a home marked with addiction, alcoholism, and abuse. As a gay kid, also navigating bullying. Safety wasn't something he got to take for granted. And for years after, he found himself in patterns a lot of us know intimately. People-pleasing, self-sabotaging, chasing a version of success that looked right on the outside, but felt hollow on the inside. What changed his life was an unexpected role on Eastman Mountain, a nonprofit LGBTQ retreat center in upstate New York, where he eventually became the executive director, immersed in healing work every single day, learning directly from shamans, coaches, and spiritual guides from around the world. He discovered that deeply transformation wasn't just possible, it was available to him. And he didn't need and he did the work. And he did the work. Since leaving Eastman Mountain, he returning to the West Coast to be near his family. Will has continued deepening that path. Today he holds a Master Certificate Coach credential with the International Coaches Federation, is a Master Practitioner of NLP. What's NLP?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Wow. Timeline therapy and hypnotherapy. Oh, I didn't know you did that. And is also a certified Reiki practitioner. I've read this today and I learned so much about you, but I'm reacting to it again. And a certified practitioner of respectful confrontation. Through his coaching, practicing willful living, he supports gay, queer, bi, and trans men in releasing the beliefs that has been keeping them small, and stepping into their lives rooted in authenticity, genuine connection, what he calls being fully alive. And there's a dimension of Will that I find particularly fascinating. Before all of this, he was an artist. He holds a master's degree in applied theater in, is it CUNY or CUNY?
Yeah, CUNY.
CUNY. He wrote, produced, and performed solo show about his relationship with drag and gender, and he co-founded the Applied Theater company dedicated to dismantling toxic masculinity. And yes, he is currently a member of an improv troupe, which honestly explains a lot about the particular warmth and playfulness he brings into the room. That's great. I mean, he also hosts, which you need to go to right now. He hosts, not right now after you listen to this. He hosts a podcast called Queerly Beloved, exploring the intersection of queer identity, spiritual, and healing. Will, thank you so much for taking the time to come on Spirit Talk Show.
Oh, it is my pleasure and my honor, and it's such a joy hearing you talk through my bio and maybe have little lights go on around the work that we got to do over the weekend and what informed it. Certainly the applied theater stuff was definitely woven into our weekend. You're right. Some of the improv theater stuff and the hypnotherapy even. There was a lot of this work that you just acknowledged that was part of the experience,
There was so much in it. In even the hypnotherapy, there's times when I felt that there was a piece created over me that was, I'm not saying that there was some magic. There was magic. There was definitely magic. And sometimes it felt like there was some kind of hypnotism or some kind of and the cacao. I didn't know. Does that actually have some buzz effect, or were we just imagining that? Because I thought it was.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And just to clarify, I didn't like hypnotize you or anything, but I was using hypno techniques to go deeper into the meditations, for example. And then, the cacao has a property that really increases blood flow, and it does support connecting deeper with emotions, and it does energize folks too, but it's non-psychoactive. It's not like a drug.
Well, I mean, it certainly felt like there was something more than just, like, to be honest, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just hot chocolate that we were calling something else. It certainly didn't taste like hot chocolate. But so, wow, that weekend when I'm in the room this weekend, I came kind of like, I don't know about this. I'm driving really far, and who are these guys? I'm never going to talk to them again. And who's this guy who like, you know, and there is this, I like how we talked about toxic, like masculinity. I grew up in Ireland where the machismo, the man, the woo-woo stuff keeps a lot of men away, I'm sure. And so, like, have you found people who just can't deal with the woo-woo stuff? And I think the woo-woo is precious and amazing, but...
Yeah, it was funny. At the last retreat I did, not the one you attended, but the one right before that in April, there was a gentleman who showed up and he's like, just so you know, like, I'm an atheist. I'm not into meditation, into any of that woo-woo stuff. And I said, are you sure that this is the retreat for you? And he was wanting to experience it and showed up with a certain level of openness that allowed him to receive a lot of the benefits and value that some of these quote unquote woo-woo things like meditation and heart circles and, you know, cacao ceremony, these things that people have maybe written off because of, like you said, this machismo. I know I am just going to believe what's right in front of me, and I don't really need the support of anything else. Those narratives have kept people from some of these practices that are part of our lineage, you know, part of our indigenous ancestry. And so he was able to be open and curious enough to receive the great benefits from it. And he left so much lighter and so much more in his heart. And I don't know if he'll ever meditate again in his life, but he's much more appreciative of that kind of work.
Yeah, I love that you said our indigenous roots, because a lot of people think of indigenous people being Native American people, but we all come from tribal people. I come from the tribal northern tribes of Germany and France. We all came from these people who sat around the fire and had these practices that like brought community together. And by the way, I know we're talking on a podcast and I'm totally okay with you because I know you're a practitioner and you're probably like, ooh, I'm not sure what I should say about Trevor's experience, but I'm totally okay with speaking about my experience openly here. Okay. So just so you don't have to hold back, because I think about, what did you see, you know, when I walked into the room, you know, first of all, I walked into the room and you were open arms right away. So that was great. Because I arrived late and you were playing that game and I felt like, oh gosh, this feels. But what did you see in, like, when you see the group? Like, what's like? I thought I was, hey, I'm confident, I'm doing well here. Did you see someone who came ready for the experience, or did I seem closed when I came?
Well, I'll rewind the tape a little further and acknowledge your process that I witnessed, where the initial call, I saw this version of you that was open and excited and curious and joyful. And then as we got closer to the retreat, there was a different version of Doyle showing up, and it was more closed off. It was skeptical. It was cynical. There was a lot of resistance and hesitation. And honestly, I wasn't sure if you were going to show up because it seemed like you would give me one problem or challenge, and as soon as I solved it, there was another one. And it's perfectly natural. And honestly, I want folks who have resistance to this work to show up, because they're often the ones who get to have the biggest journey and transformation. And so it was perfect that it showed up. But then, you know, when you actually arrived in person, honestly, I was expecting you to be more closed off because of those final conversations. And that's not what I received. I received you as being open and friendly. And yeah, we were playing an impromptu game that one of the participants had brought. And I was concerned how that would feel for you, because there's always a concern around if people feel a sense of belonging or exclusion. And you jumped right in. You said, "I love games. Oh, can I go give a turn?" You know, and so immediately I was starting to feel much more okay. This guy is the first version that I met, and then you just expanded from there. I mean, it was incredible to witness your journey and to see your heart truly open even more. You know, you showed up open and curious, and then it just kept opening and opening even more. And by the final day, my experience of you was this embodiment of joy and bliss and connection and enthusiasm and spirit.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, definitely I felt it. And I drove home in bliss, and I'm definitely doing these practices to keep me out of things that I know bring me down, like I created a playlist of musical theater songs I like, which is what I listen to when I walk, and not the videos that were sometimes a little dramatic that I would walk with to get like, oh yes, I must fight the power. But it's not the kind of person I am. I'm much more the person that you experienced first time and during the weekend. But let me ask you, your work is specifically with gay, bi, queer, and trans men. Is there something particular to that experience growing up queer, that specifically, that kind of wound around, why you're valuing that particular group? Or is it just because that's what you know?
It is in part because it's my experience, and so I'm very familiar with the wounds that so many folks in the queer community face, and I have a passion for it, having suffered the impact of that oppression and that wounding has me cared deeply about supporting folks in their capacity to heal that wound. And the first step is to be able to see it. There's many LGBTQ folks who are unaware that they're walking through the world with that wound, who are unaware that they are putting up masks, presenting a facade, wearing thick armor, walking through the world with walls around their hearts. And they're fine. They might even have reached a certain level of success, but often their experience of life is one that is unfulfilled, is one that is unfeeling, is one where they don't have much connection or awareness of their heart. And so my work is bringing more awareness to what's possible, and then supporting folks in offering tools and approaches and strategies to take that armor down when they feel safe enough and ready to do so. And I just want to acknowledge that I don't do the work. I mean, I hold the space. No, I do the work for myself. But in terms of what you participants got to experience, you all did that. I'm merely creating the space, offering some tools and strategies and perspectives. And then you all are your own healers, healing yourselves and supporting the healing of each other. So it really is a very much a co-created space, and you are a big part of that co-creation.
I mean, I know I was in a room I've been in rooms of men before, and it feels like, oh, I don't want to talk, I'm going to look dumb, or people don't want to hear me. But I can tell you, after the first meeting, I had no concern about speaking in front of that. My brothers were there to hold me up and to build me up. And this, it obviously was very powerful for me. This work is so powerful and it's so needed. Why don't more people come to it? What story do people tell themselves that keeps them away?
Well, can I ask you, when that version of you did show up with resistance, what were some of the stories that might have been playing under the radar for you?
Well, I mean, I'd say in honesty, it was a single man's thing. And I'd like to meet a man to spend some time with. And it was a little bit of me thinking, well, it's in Joshua Tree, which is so far away from where I live. And, but then definitely I think that I've experienced, talking too much in a room and taking up too much space. And so I'm a little afraid of being that character again. I think that, do I know fully the answer? And the answer is no, I don't know the full answer. Like, I was feeling resistance in this second call. I was feeling like, the thing with the sleeping, and I forget what the other thing was.
Sure.
And the food. And and it was, I don't know why. Why do I do it? Why do people do that?
Well, and one of the things I heard you mention is this fear of the way that you're going to show up, right? Am I going to take up too much space? And then once you were in the room, like, how are they going to receive me, right? So there is a very big fear that is connected to the wound of belonging or not belonging, right? And for many gay folks, for many LGBTQ folks, we have not felt like we belong to society, or to our families, that this piece about us being different makes us an outcast. And so in order to belong, we have to mask up. We have to present in a certain way. We have to hide ourselves, right? So I think that that's a big piece of it, that folks are afraid of how they will be received. Will I belong? Will I be included? Many of us have these wounds from our childhoods, where for me, I'll speak for myself, I lost all my friends when people started sharing rumors that I was gay. And so I have a wound that I've worked on healing around belonging, around being excluded. So that's a big piece of it. We also, many of us have wounds from other gay men, that we have been hurt by gay men. Hurt people. And so for some folks, they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be hanging out intimately with a group of gay men that I've never met before, that might be cruel to me, that might ostracize me, that might judge me. So I think there's that fear too. But the ultimate fear is that fear of vulnerability. It's that fear of, will I get hurt? If I show up with an open heart and I make myself vulnerable, what's going to happen to my heart? And so, I think folks are afraid of that, and some of them aren't interested. It's like I said before, there's many folks, queer folks, who are moving through the world with these wounds, and they're successful. On the surface, they're living their best lives, and so it's easier to just continue in those motions, just moving through the motions of success, rather than taking a cold, hard look at, am I actually happy? Am I actually satisfied? Am I actually capable of experiencing a depth of connection with myself, with spirit, and with others, the one that I'm actually deeply seeking? Am I willing to face that? And that's, I acknowledge that's a scary proposition for many folks.
Well, and also we experience in the gay community, there's certain types of gay men, there's archetypes of gay men that I jokingly call them the can't even gays, right? I can't even deal with it. And there's these people in the community who can be unpleasant at times, right? Mm-hmm. They can't always be, but I think about, like, you are such this beaming light of love and acceptance. And in your journey, your childhood was marked with some real darkness. There was addiction, there was abuse, there was not feeling safe, to becoming someone who creates safety for others. Was there a moment? Like, what was the turning point for you where you actually believed that transformation was possible for you personally?
Well, I will say that even as a kid, when I wasn't in a very safe home, I was still loving. Like my heart has always been a pretty big loving heart. Yeah. And somehow, I think my mom, even though she was an alcoholic and, was popping pills, she still gave me unconditional love. I'm very, very grateful for that. And I was able to move through the dysfunction with some preservation of that loving heart, and also with a strength that I can survive challenging things. And so I'd say that, that I am very lucky that I didn't end up, a drug addict like my brother did, who's still currently homeless and addicted to drugs. But I did carry those wounds in other ways. When I was in my 20s, I was partying. I was in the New York City nightlife. I was, heavily drinking. And, I found my own ways of avoiding the pain. And I also experienced some of the gay wounds that I was talking about. Like, I didn't feel like I fit in to the homonormative gay culture. And then I started to discover queer spirituality. I started to discover people who were expressing their queerness or their sexuality in ways that were more aligned with how I wanted to express mine, where it wasn't so normative. It wasn't so, there wasn't a conformity that was in place. And when I did that, and then I also started to tap into earth-based spirituality, in Native American spirituality, pagan spirituality, I started to feel that calling, that calling into the light. And in that process, I also started to see what was possible when I looked at some of my wounds and did the work to heal them. Was your question, was there an actual moment?
That way you actually knew that there was transformation, that you could be transformed personally?
I think there were many moments. But there is one piece where I saw what was possible. And it was what's it called? A landmark forum weekend, where I saw that I could have conversations with people, and that could open up my eyes and my heart and my mind to what else is possible. So I think that was one of the moments of like, oh, there's work that I can do to change how I see the world. That was one moment, but there were many. I'd say going to my first Radical Fairy gathering, that was a moment of what else is possible. And yes, I can connect with spirit in a way that's aligned with me. That's not this heteronormative, patriarchal, colonialist Christian approach that I can approach it from this woo-woo approach. I'm part Wasage Native American. And so the earth-based stuff is really juicy for me. And so when I got to experience spirituality in connecting with the earth and the elements, it was like, oh yeah, this is lighting me up. So yeah, I'd say those are two moments, the Radical Fairies and also a weekend, like personal growth. I don't know if you've heard of Landmark Forum.
I've heard of it. So
those were two big ones.
Like someone being around you, I was like, first when I met you, I said, like, I was trying to figure out who's this archetype? Who's this person? He's not this fluid person. He's not this masculine person, but he has very masculine traits too. He has also these very feminine traits. For a while, and you wear these flowy clothes, but then you have this commanding presence, and then you have this loving, like motherly presence. And it's like my brain was like glitching. Like where does he fit in my archetype? And then I realized you're just Will, and Will is Will, and Will is beautiful, and you just fit into this world of Will, and then you enter into the Will world when you're there. And it's a good lesson for us to think, like, just meet a person where they are and who they are, and don't be trying to say, oh, this is that kind of person, that is this kind of person, right? Because we have these archetypes. Wow, the weekend was. I'm being a little verklempt here, trying to.
Well, let me just respond to what you just said, because that really touched my heart, hearing you kind of seek the box that I fit in, and then recognize that there isn't one, that it's just the will sphere. I appreciate that reflection, and I just feel very seen and appreciated in that, and it does touch my heart. So thank you. And my hope and prayer is for everyone to be able to remove themselves from any boxes and to get to express their deepest, truest, most unique expression of consciousness. And a lot of the work is supporting folks in bringing awareness to their conditioning, to their patterns that are often the result of what society has told them how they need to show up and what they need to do, and also the result of traumas that have caused them to create different strategies in the way they show up. So a lot of the work is supporting folks in being able to see those things and then remove them so that they can tap into that truest, purest, most unique form of expression of their consciousness. So thank you for seeing my work.
Yeah, so you do talk about, I know that you talk about, I'm trying to describe something. I'm going to ask you to describe something that might be indescribable, but you talk about moving from performance to presence. For someone listening right now and who have never experienced that, can you describe what it feels like on the other side of it?
Ooh, juicy question. One of the things that I shared with the group was around when we were doing the heart circle work, where we were sharing deeply from our hearts. And the invitation was, I love how you guys all tease me about everything's an invitation, but how the invitation was to not plan what you're going to say. Yes, it's going to land on you, and you're going to speak in front of all these people who are going to watch you and listen to you deeply. They're going to listen to you deeply. And the invitation is to not plan it, right? So it's my belief that true speaking from the heart requires spontaneity. And so the same is true about this presence that I'm talking about, that we need to create the spaciousness to allow what expression wants to come through us, rather than performing a version of ourselves. And it's a bit of a trust fall, right? Which is
definitely is.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to hear you talk all day. I know that when you talked about the visualizing the inner child thing, my brain was going, put him in a safe place, right? My brain was going, there's no safe place, no place. Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose it visualizing. Let me plan what to say. And that was a moment when I said, I'm going to just lean into not thinking about what I have to say, what I want to say, so I can perform and everybody can know I'm the best at visualizing, right? And then I think you remember that was a moment when I probably, one of those three moments when I went deep and became enveloped in the emotion of it, and I just let it flow, because you think like, I can't not plan what I'm going to say because it's going to get to me and I'm going to go, oh no, what? Now I look dumb and I look like because in school we're told to talk and we have to have something prepared, right? And so that was something I did to take to heart, and it was profound. There was some of the stuff that came up, like, I didn't even know that was such a big deal in my heart, this thing that came up about my inner child and not having not feeling like I had a safe place, and how I sought the safe place in a place that felt safe but ended up being bad, right? Wow.
Yeah, and that share was so powerful. And I remember, water coming from your eyes and being so proud of you for allowing such deep vulnerability. And I just want to acknowledge that a lot of the time we can't pre-plan shares like that our mind isn't capable of crafting something so deep and true and real, and that it does require us to be moving and connecting with our heart and sharing from that space. And that the opportunity that you all so beautifully took advantage of was that we created that safe and supportive space so that you all could practice those trust falls, practice that you can show up in your truth and be accepted and supported and celebrated. And so in practicing, we get to create a new neural pathway that tells us that it is safe to be ourselves, right? And we get to practice again and again and have that new experience that we can trust, that when we allow ourselves to be totally real and be fully seen for who we are, that we will still be loved and accepted. And by doing that in that safe container that we all co-created, the aim, the hope, the prayer is that you then can bring some of that to your everyday life, that you can courageously show up with more truth, with less performance and with more presence, with less mental calculation and more heart-centered connection and expression.
And there's something more to it too, is when I revealed to them this person who I really was, and that person was admired and loved and sought after by people, I came away thinking like, well, I'm a really nice, worthwhile person who people want to be around, right? So I began to accept that person as a likable person, that not this person who had to hide and adjust and be different and be a different person for people, that, wow, people really like Doyle and like being around him and like to hear him. And now that I revealed my true self, they like the true Doyle too. And that's who I need to be, and that's who I want to be. And they like him. And that's a powerful thing too, to know that it's safe to be there, because you're not going to be told like, ooh, this is you. No, that doesn't happen, right? It's this is beautiful, and also it's more beautiful and more meaningful because that's the person behind the curtain, right? That's the real wizard, right?
Oh, that's so good, Doyle. Yeah, the person behind the curtain. And yeah, to get those reflections and to see how you're being seen in your truth is so powerful. And without naming him, you might remember there was a participant who was so surprised when so many people expressed to him that they saw him as this joyful being.
Yeah.
Like so shocked by that. And, I've talked to him since, and he's like been telling people who, from his life about it, and how he's still kind of in this state of shock. And it's, for me, I was like, well, it's surprising. It's shocking to me that it was shocking to you, because this just seems so natural and this seems so you. And it's like, because of the walls and the different protective strategies that we have used to keep ourselves safe, often this joyful self, this very lovable, likable self that you were getting to fully embody, those parts aren't fully revealed and are often hidden. And so to get affirmed in that version of ourselves, that more true version of ourselves, to see that it's likable and lovable and appreciated, it's like, it's so good for the soul. That's my experience.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm not going to name, but I think I know who you're talking about. And, we live in a community that somehow calls, if you make a joke, sometimes you're always being a bitch, right? And so, but sometimes it's just, you're just being joyful, and that's okay too. And, I particularly enjoyed, of course, we're not going to name anybody or talk about particular people in the experience, but they were a big part of it. And, they're communicating. We're all communicating quite frequently right now. Wow. So let's talk about how people who are listening, who, I saw your Facebook post, and I don't know why it came up. I think I was probably looking at the Calm app, and apps that help you meditate yourself. So I think the algorithm saw my interest in finding gay groups that related to spirituality, and so I knew I needed it, and it seems so right. So let's talk about how what work you can do. And I am mindful of the time, because I know you did say you had to go.
No problem.
Yeah, but let's talk about how people can get in touch, the next step they can do, and where they should look and where they should check, and what work you can do for people.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to share that. And yeah, just once again, I want to acknowledge the group that you were in, and acknowledge how each and every one of you showed up in such a beautiful way. And I'm so grateful for what we got to co-create, and so grateful for each and every one of you from that beautiful container. So yeah, I am excited to keep offering these. And as you know, I've got a longer version coming up in Costa Rica for New Year's, and potentially a event this summer for single LGBTQ men. And I definitely love connecting with more people who are interested in this work. It is my mission. It is my purpose to serve in this way. And so I am very grateful when folks tell others about the work. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity, Doyle, to be speaking about it on your platform. But yeah, folks can connect with me on Instagram at WILFISH99. They can connect with me on Facebook, WIL Wil Fisher without a C. And then, my website, WIL-fullyliving.com. And I'm always game for a phone call, a Zoom. Like, I'm very accessible. If people are curious, even if they're not 100% wanting to do it, if they just want to ask me a few questions and talk to me, I love meeting people regardless of what decision they make. And there's never a big amount of pressure or anything like that. I just like to connect with people who are open and curious. Yeah.
I'm interested in the Costa Rica thing, a full week in the jungle with workshops, a traditional sweat lodge in the Talari River, a sacred journey, New Year's Eve celebration for someone someone listening, take it from me, from someone who who almost hesitated, who almost didn't get in that car,
Mm.
go to the website, and it's Will with one L, right?
True.
So it's
True.
Willful Living, willfulliving.com.
Fully. Yeah. Will-fully living. Yeah.
Willfully Living. Go to the website, find this beautiful man, speak to this beautiful man, go to one of these events. I'm trying to convince him to do one in Northern California this year, but we'll see.
I'm very open to that. Yeah. I'm
next
still
year.
sitting with that possibility, feeling into it.
I
think that's very exciting.
And I want people to experience you, but you also will meet with people personally, and you also have some experiences that people can come to you in the Los Angeles area and have one-on-one. But I think you said something about you can come overnight to your place, right, and have an experience that's something.
Yeah. So some of the most impactful work that I do is one-on-one retreat work where they come to my space. It's actually south of LA. It's in Encinitas, which is part of San Diego County. But I live a couple blocks from the ocean, and it's a very I call it, this is woo-woo, but a high vibrational place. There's a lot of yoga here. Paramahansa Yogananda has their SRF fellowship in this little town, and there's a lot of seekers here, and the ocean provides this beautiful healing body of water. And so, yeah, folks come here, and we do, some of the same modalities that we do in the group, but it's really just focused on one person. So, we get to receive, they get to receive ritual work and hypnotherapy work and NLP work and life coaching work and all the good stuff.
I'm there. And if anybody listening, if the fact that I will likely be on the Costa Rica experience, if that wants you to come and spend a week with myself and Will in Costa Rica, then hey, look it up. We'd love to see you there. I'm kind of probably 98% there. I got to look at the details, but awesome. It's an amazing experience. To have this experience for a week is such a gift. And I want to be sacred of I want to be cognizant of the time, because I would like to honor you with the story I wrote about you. But I want to give you an opportunity if there's something of yours you'd like to read or something on the show.
I'd love to hear your story, and then let me see if it can inspire a story from me.
Okay.
Would I be reading like maybe a poem, or actually I have a poem that I would like to read, perhaps.
I'd love that. Okay, so the story I have for you is a tribute story that I wrote for you. I wrote it on, I knew you wanted to come on, so I wrote it on Sunday. I fixed it the other day when I heard you're actually going to come. So, okay, so I read it to myself the other day, and I didn't get through without crying, so I'll try to read it now to you. So this is a tribute story. Like there are people you meet in life who remind you that you are more than the story you've been telling people about yourself. Wil Fisher is one of those people. He didn't arrive at this work easily. He came through the kind of childhood that teaches a kid early and hard that the world is not always safe, that love sometimes comes attached to chaos, that home is not always a refuge. As a gay boy navigating all that, he learned to manage, to perform, to make himself acceptable enough to survive. He learned the way so many of us do, to shrink. And then somehow life placed him in the middle of the forest in upstate New York in a place called Easton Mountain, a retreat center where healing was the whole point, where people came from every corner of the world to lay down what they'd been carrying. And Will didn't just witness the work, he let it touch him. He let it in. He sat in a circle, not just as a leader, but as a student. And he did the terrifying, sacred, necessary thing of allowing himself to be seen. What came out on the other side was not a polished version of a man who had figured it all out. What came out was someone real, someone who had walked through the darkness to know exactly where the light was hiding, and who had made his life's mission to help others find it. What I find remarkable about Will is how many languages he speaks. He speaks the language of the body through NLP, hypnotherapy, and Reiki, the language of the spirit through years of immersion in healing traditions from around the world, and maybe my favorite, the language of the stage, where he has a master's degree in applied theater. He has written and performed his own solo show. He's used theater as a tool to dismantle toxic masculinity. He is, as I write this, a member of an improv troupe. None of that is separate from his coaching work. All of it is the same thing, a deep abiding belief that truth about who we are is best found not in our heads, but in the room, in the body, in the moment of contact with another human being. I sat in a room with Will this past weekend. I watched him hold space for a group of people who came in armored and left in some real ways more themselves. I watched grown men receive simple compliment, almost collapse under the weight of it, not because it hurt, but because it had been so long since they'd allowed someone to see them clearly and say so loud. I watched something sacred happen in ordinary moments, and I cried 3 times. Not from sadness, from recognition, from the particular relief of being in a room where truth was welcome. Wil Fisher has spent his life building these rooms for men who were told in 100 different ways that they were too much or not enough. For men who performed their way through decades and woke up one day exhausted and empty and unsure who they actually were underneath it. For men who hungered for something spiritual but had been burnt by religion and didn't know where else to look. He shows up for those men with his whole heart, with humor and warmth and a directness that never tips into cruelty, with credentials that are real and wisdom that is earned from and joy that is frankly contagious. He is the real thing. The world is better and brighter for the work he does and that he's in it.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah. I got through it. I cried a little bit, but I got through it. So, this is...
Wow. Thank you. That's absolutely one of the most beautiful things anyone's ever said about me, and I'm so grateful and so moved. Thank you.
Well, people need to know, I hear people use the word hero in our community, and not in our community, in the world. We use the word hero. And when people spend in a room like you and they say, this is a real hero, this is a real hero, you don't just save, you don't run into a burning fire, but you kind of do, the burning fire of our lives. And you pull us out, and that's so. Wow! I'd love I know you rush for time, but I'd love to
leave listeners with the poem. Yeah.
Yes.
And this is about joy. A poem about joy. Joy chose you. It's by Donna Ashworth. Joy does not arrive with a fanfare on a red carpet strewn with the flowers of a perfect life. Joy sneaks in as you pour a cup of coffee, watching the sunlight hit your favorite tree just right. And you usher joy away because you are not ready for her. Your house is not as it should be for such a distinguished guest. But joy cares nothing for your messy home or your bank balance or your waistline. You see, joy is supposed to slither through the cracks of your imperfect life. That's how joy works. You cannot truly invite her. You can only be ready when she appears and hug her with meaning, because in this very moment, joy chose you.
Well, thank you, Wil Fisher. If you're listening here tonight and some of this has touched you, please go to willfullyliving.com and meet this man, and he'll be there for you as he was there for me. And I know, Will, this is not just a passing acquaintance in my life. This is going to become a special for a friendship, and I'm touched and honored, and I'm better for it. And I hope all the men you've touched are better for it. Thank you so much for spending the time to talk to me. And I'll let you give the last thought message to the world.
Oh, my goodness. My first message is, I love you very much, Doyle. I'm very grateful for you and grateful for this connection. And excited to see it continue to unfold. And my message to the listeners is simple. You are enough. You are so worthy of love. And you are divine light. You are love manifest. You are an expression of source. And to remember how truly special and sacred you are. Oh.
Believe it. Believe it. You can believe it too. be in a room with this man and you can believe it. But thank you so much, Will. And I know you got to run out, but I really appreciate you. And thank you so much for coming on. And I'll talk to you about the details of the podcast offline. But thank you so much for spending this time with me. And this doesn't count as my integration phone call, by the way.
No, it doesn't. Okay, yeah, book your call. Book your call. Thank
you so much and have a great night. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
And there it is, Wil Fisher in all his generous, radiant, real deal glory. I want to say something before I let you go tonight. I walked into that room this past weekend, not entirely sure what I was getting into. Drove a long way, didn't know the people, and somewhere in the middle of it, I cried. Not once, 3 times. Not from sadness, from something I can only call recognition. Like something inside me that had been waiting a long time to be seen. There was a moment in that room where I stopped planning what I was going to say, stopped performing, stopped calculating, and I just let myself be real. And the people around me saw that person, the real one, and liked them. They wanted to be near him. I walked away thinking, that is who I'm supposed to be. That is a person behind the curtain, and he is enough. And that is what Wil Fisher creates, not a workshop, not a seminar, a room where truth is welcome, where you get, maybe for the first time in a long time, a glimpse of your own light. So I invite you, yes, Will, that one was for you, but I do truly and wholeheartedly invite you to go find this man. Go to willfullyliving.com, follow him on Instagram at Will with 1L, W-I-L, Fish, F-I-S-H 99. Reach out, ask your questions. You do not have to be ready. I was not ready, go anyway. And if Costa Rica retreat calls to you, even a full week in the jungle, a sacred river, a New Year's Eve celebration unlike anything you've ever done, look it up. I will likely be there, slightly sunburned and definitely emotional. And I'd love to spend that time with you too. And I would love to see you across that circle for sure. Thank you, Wil Fisher, for a weekend that cracked something open in me. For the poem about joy sneaking through the cracks, and for being, as I said, and absolutely meant, the real thing. The world is brighter for the work you do and for the fact that you are in it. I'm Doyle. This has been Spirit Talk Show, Bedtime Stories for Grown-Ups. Take good care of yourselves out there and remember what Will told you tonight, because he meant every single word. Now go make a story worth telling. Good night.